We're middle of Tanya. Please mute yourself. We're in Pedic Mem Aleph. It's the fifth shir, and we haven't even covered half of this Pedic. Baruch Hashem, we're explaining it elaborately. We're trying to, at least, and we're now on page. We're on page Nun Zayin. After the semicolon in the middle of the page, the full colon, the colon in middle of the page, Vihine. So the Alter Rebbe explained to us that as long as you have Kabbalah Soil Malchus Shemayim, it's called Avodah Shlema, a complete Avodah. There's nothing lacking in the Avodah, although in the heart you don't have palpitations of love and awe for God. Says the Alter Rebbe that the criteria as set by Hashem, by God, in the Torah, is va'avadetem. V'oisei tavoidu. You need to be a servant of God. And a servant has, as the fundamental element, Kabbalah Soil Malchus Shemayim. So if you have Kabbalah Soil Malchus Shemayim, even though you're not excited about it, you don't like it. But you do, because you know this is your master, and you serve your master, you are called an Oived Hashem. That's an amazing thought. And Alter Rebbe, remember, his last word on page 112 is B'Shem Avoda Shelema. Chaim Zev, it's not just an Avodah. Someone says, you're serving God, but it's half-baked. You don't really mean it. You don't feel it. Turn to this chapter, show him the words that the Alter Rebbe says, if you have a Kabbalah Soil, the Avodah is Avodah Shlema. Shlema from the word Shalom. Shlemut, complete, whole, peaceful. Now let's continue. V'hinei, so middle of the page of Nun Zayin. Af mishagam b'moicho machshavti eina magashum yiru busho. Even someone who doesn't feel in his mind, and in his thought, any feeling, eina margish, the word regish, has no feeling, shum yira, has no fear, ubusha, and no embarrassment. He has no mipnei, pchisus erech nafshoy. The Alter Rebbe right away kind of justifies, why not? You're a Jew, you serve Hashem, you do what he wants, but you don't feel it. Says the Alter Rebbe, in a way it's not your fault. Because it's pchisus erech nafshoy mimokar choitzva b'madrega tachtoinus the yutzviras dasiya. This isn't so complimentary, but it's necessary to know. Your soul comes from the low level of asiya. Let's just leave it at that. Your soul is not from the highest souls. You're from the lower souls. You're still a good soul. But the reason why Eina Margish is because you're not wired this way. And I said yesterday a similar idea. If you don't have a brain to delve deeply into meditative Hasidic thought, you could fetch from today till tomorrow and you still won't understand it as deep. That is something that has to do with your moach, the physical brain. Here, he's not talking about the physical brain, he's talking about where does your neshama come from? Now, you ask the average person, how do I know where my soul comes from? So the Alter Rebbe says, if you work hard in serving God and you still don't have that regesh, and it reminds me of our conversation a year ago with Isser, why don't you have that regesh? It could be that your neshama could be. I'm not going to go say I know, and anyone tells you they know, they're foolish, but it could be. That's what he says here. That you come, look at the pchisus erech nafshay. It sounds very derogatory, but it's not derogatory. It means you come from a place where the neshama is in the lower level of asiya. Okay? And therefore, you're incapable of having a regish just from serving God. Says the Alter Rebbe, Afal Pikei, nevertheless, that you don't have this awesome feeling. Since you intended through your avodah, through your service, to serve the king, harezu avodah gemura. The Alter Rebbe here changes from the words avodah shlema to avodah gemura. In a way, avodah gemura is even more. Avodah gemura means yoni, complete, gamur. It's finished. How do you avoid the gemura? It's a complete avodah. It's a finished avodah. So again, the Alter Rebbe is comforting the servant, the oived. Don't for a moment think that you're lacking something and that you're not good enough, inadequate. That's very, very important. You talk about a sense of self-esteem. Hillel, this chapter boosts your self-esteem. It doesn't poo-poo it. As long as you give as much as you can, and as long as your foundation is Kabbalah Soil, I do what Hashem wants, how do you avoid the Shlema, how do you avoid the Gemura? Let's continue. Key. The question is why? Now this is a very important point, very important, this line. Because the idea of awe and the idea of service, nechshavos l'shtei mitzvahs, are considered two separate mitzvahs. Be'inyim taryag mitzvahs, in the counting of the 613 mitzvahs, ve'enam akva zu, and one does not hold back the other. Wow. There's Yiras Hashem. That's a mitzvah. And then there's a mitzvah Avraham va'avadetem, serve God. Says the Alter Rebbe, they're two separate mitzvahs. And if you do va'avadetem and you're still lacking yira, you've done a complete va'avadetem. You don't have yira yet. But as far as va'avadetem,
what about Ava?
Ava.
What about Ava?
Probably Ava as well. He doesn't mention it here, and it's a good point to look at. And hopefully maybe Shabbos I'll get a chance to look at that. So thank you for bringing that up. But right now he just says Yiras. I don't want to say until I check it out. The mitzvah of Yira, right? We explained yesterday, Yoni, maybe this is an explanation, that Ava brings along with itself more the self, the I. I love, I feel. In Yira, the I is suspended. Scared? What do you mean I'm scared? Why are you scared? Because that person or that item scares you and humbles you. So the you is suspended. The you is squashed. In the notion of Ava, the you is very much potent. So that's possibly why he doesn't say Ava here, because we're talking about both activities of suspension of ego. One is Yira and one is Avoda. And he says that both are two separate things in the two separate mitzvahs in the counting the 613 mitzvahs. In other words, when you look into the Torah and it says, and he and God you shall serve, it doesn't say there, you must serve him with fear. It doesn't say that. Just work. Let's go back to the mashal of the Zohar HaKadosh that the Alter Rebbe brought in earlier on this page. The ox plows the field. The ox likes it. The ox doesn't like it. The ox feels. The ox, stinks. It makes no difference. It plows. It moves. It accomplishes. Tavodu. Avoda. Yira. The ox does know, he doesn't know, he likes his boss, he doesn't like his boss, he wakes up in a good mood, he has fear, he doesn't have fear. That's a different equation altogether. So too in the Nimshul, yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, so it seems like that the Yira will be, according to the Alter, I mean, some people will not be able to perform that mitzvah.
No, you will be able to. The question is to what degree. You're right. To have the Yira of Yiri law and the Tzaddik of being in the Alter Rebbe taught us many times in this first section, it's not shaykh to us. But a rudimentary and basic idea of Yira, of course. But
the Alter Rebbe says that your neshama, it comes from a certain point. If your neshama comes from that level point, then it's not capable.
It's not capable of having the strong heart palpitations. But a rudimentary basic Yira, basic fear. Your basic scare. Hashem says don't do this, otherwise you're punished. I'm just saying, you're scared. Like you're scared to pass a red light, you'll get a ticket, or you'll end up paying a big fee, or you're scared. Simply, that's why he brought. I think earlier, and I might bring it again. The Gemara, Rabbi Chaim Dalfin says to his Talmidim, "Hey, your Yira Shemayim can be a Yira Basar Adam, but Yira Basar Adam shaykh to all of us. The fear for man, right? So that is a basic, but nevertheless, that's Yira of some form, but it's still separate than Avodah. Avodah means working. Avodah doesn't mean Yira. That's what he's saying here in Tanya. In other words, like this. Yeah, one second. In other words, like this. Must it be, this is the thought that we should think about. Must it be that the reason I serve God, the reason I'm an Ovid, the reason I'm a servant of a master is because I have, these great feelings of awe and fear for my master? No. As long as you have Kabbalah soil, the basic rudimentary idea of accepting the yoke. This is my master, and I need to do, not because my master pays me, not because my master will hit me, but the basic sense of he's my master. And that's what drives you. The second element is that he's my master, and if I don't do what my master wants, I'm going to get a patch. I'm not going to get my wages. That, Chaim Zev, is not the higher level of Yira. That's the lowest level of Yira. Yiras ha'einish, it says, the fear of punishment, the fear of the strap is the lowest, and we see it today with children and students. I'm going to punish you, and we've come to a point where that's really, in a sense, almost outdated. Hitting for sure, but even, you know what I'm saying? The emphasizing the Yira doesn't work. It doesn't work as much. We still come from a time, maybe it worked. I mean, some of you, the 60s, that's where the rebellion started, but, it's really dissipated in all communities. Yes, Yoini, what did you want to say? Yoini?
In this case, specifically in this case, it could be in Klali also, but is Asiya and Avoda the same thing, or is it different?
It's the same thing if you mean by Asiya, Kabbalah, Soyo, Malchus, Shemayim. In other words, you learn, you're told, to put on tefillin. You don't understand why. You don't understand its significance. You don't know the reason. But you were told by your by your father, by your Rebbe, by your teacher, bar mitzvah puts on tefillin. I accept upon myself as a Jewish man of 13 to put on tefillin. So if that's what you mean by Asiya, Yaini, the answer is yes. So I would say that the core element that we're identifying as Avodah and Asiya is what we call Kabbalah Soil Malchus Shemayim. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Kabbalah Soil. Before we talk about V'yohavta, B'chol Levavcha, and the mitzvahs, that's called Kabbalah mitzvahs. Kabbalah mitzvahs. Before mitzvahs. Kabbalah Soil, I accept God as my master. Avinu Malkeinu. There's Avinu, that's a Ava relationship. Then there's Malkeinu. The Malkeinu relationship, and the whole day, Tzedek Shemay Tshuva, it's about HaMelech. He's my king. Let's continue. V'yoid. Now, Chaim Zev, the Alter Rebbe says, actually, you also fulfill somehow the mitzvah of Yira through having Kabbalah Soil. V'yoid. Shebe'emes Mekayim Gam Mitzvahs Yira, you also truthfully are fulfilling mitzvah of Yira b'mashem mamshich ha'yira b'machshavtoi. All along, the Alter Rebbe said that this Kabbalah soil is not what we call foolish Kabbalah soil. It's smart, this is my own words, smart Kabbalah soil, meaning it's a Kabbalah soil that in your mind you say, I don't know what God is, but I know that he's so special and God is so significant that I agree to follow him. So and that's called Yireh b'machshava. There's Yireh b'lev, right? Chevre, Isser. Yireh b'lev means heart palpitations, okay? That we don't have. But Yireh b'machshava, the Tanya argues, everyone can have, even if you come from the level of Asiya. See, that's what I want to correct you. I want to make sure you understand, Chaim. The level of Asiya was only to exclude, I believe, the Yireh Ilah, the higher level of Yireh. But the Yireh b'machshavtoi, i.e. that, hey, it's the correct thing to fear God. I don't feel God yet. But I know that it's right, it makes sense. Now there's a gap between the making sense in machshava to feeling in the heart. That's the difference between the Beinoni and the Tzaddik. Says the Alter Rebbe, the fact that this Jew has Yireh b'machshava ki b'shor v'regezu. And look, and the Alter Rebbe says, I'll prove it to you. Because at this very moment, al kol ponim meideh shamayim olav. He has the fear of God upon him, al kol ponim, at least as much as kemoideh b'asar v'dam, as he fears a human being. Hegyet of a simple man, lepoches she'einem melech hamabed olav shenimne ba'avurah b'lazes dover she'ino gebeinov. And he, in other words, someone who's a simple man, a hegyet, he's not a melech. When he looks at you and he sees what you're doing, you hide. Right? We don't want people to see our stuff. We hide. Whether we hide it, from announcing to everyone we cheated on our taxes, 1 second, or whatever else. So that's called Sheina Hagen. You hide, says the Alter Rebbe, this moment, when you accept Kabbalah soil, you have at least that amount of Yireh b'machshavtoi. Shazu nikra Yireh. That's also called a form of Yireh. Oh, I quoted this to you before. Like Rabbi Chaim Dalfin says in Talmidov, Yehi Ratzon. He tells the students, may it be the will of God. Shehei meideh shamayim aleichem. That the awe, the fear of God should be upon you, kemeideh b'asar v'dam, like the fear of a human being. At least that you should have, students. Hulu. Teidu. How do we know? Kishe'odem v'avera. When a person does commit a sin, what does the person say? I hope no one saw what I did. So that's Yireh. That's Yireh. I'm scared for people to see me. Rak, however, Yireh zu, this type of Yireh that we're discussing now, nikras Yireh tato. That's what I told you before. It's called the lower level of Yireh, v'yirascheit. We also call it the fear of sin. I'm scared of the punishment. Shekoidemes, Pirkei Avos teaches us that needs to precede Chochmah. Then we have the higher level, the Yireh Ilah. Who Yireh Boishes? Yireh Boishes. Yireh Boishes is not about, I'm scared I'm going to get a patch and a punishment. I'm scared of the embarrassment. Hey, I'm a person who comes to shul, I do what I do, I'm a doctor, I'm this or that. It's Avram Twersky, Rabbi Twersky, in his books uses the word that for years, since I saw it, I love it. In Yiddish, es passt nit. It means this is not befitting. And Twersky says that's how his father raised him in Milwaukee. He didn't tell him, Avram, if you're going to go and hang out with girls, this is against our family tradition and you're going to get punished. He didn't tell him that. He told him, what family you come from. You come from the Harner Steipler Tzadikim. You come from the Balatanya. You come from the Mittler Rebbe. You come from such Oivdei Hashem. And if you come from them, think about what you're doing. So That's called Yirei Boishus. Looking to find the healthy embarrassment. It's not the way we think sometimes, guilt. It's not guilt. Guilt is negative. It's not guilt. It's a healthy consciousness of Yirei Boishus. You know who you are. You're made of better quality. It's a humility. Yes. Let me. Someone wanted to ask something. Yes, Isser, go ahead.
So this raises a question for me, because maybe it's less common now, but certainly there were periods of time in the United States when it was more common.
Yeah.
And I know individuals who specifically asked the psak. I'm a lawyer, and in order for me to appear presentable in court before my client and before the judge, and do I need to wear a yarmulke? I want to be clean shaven, or they shave during sphira. So, on the other, and balance that with, why are you working? Parnasa, I'm working when I go to work in order to give tzedakah, support my family, send my children to yeshiva. So on the one hand, your parnasa is all for the sake of a mitzvah or mitzvahs. But on the other hand, now you're hiding, or your yira of Adam is greater than your yira of Hashem. You hear the question?
I don't hear the question yet. I understand. I hear everything but the question. What's the question?
It seems like a stira that you're losing the mitzvah of, you say you're going to work in order to, but at the same time you're putting your yiras Adam above your yiras Hashem. So how could it be?
Okay.
But you could say that also about a shliach. It goes out into Timbuktu, where it's not sneeze. It goes out to Goa, and his children are going to be affected by the surroundings, right? But on the other hand, he's going to carve Yidden. So I hear what he's saying. I hear what it is.
Okay. So, in no way, shape, or form, since you mentioned shliach, I'll talk about that. And the Rebbe intended for a moment that the shliach or his children, his grandchildren, will fall one iota less than they were in Crown Heights or Yerushalayim. If they do, don't blame the Lubavitch.
It has nothing to do with yiras Adam.
Right. That's right.
It has nothing to do with yiras Adam.
Exactly. One second. The fact is, there's two shittas. Again, since you brought it up, it's off topic, but we'll just for a moment take the time. There's two shittas. The Yekis don't wear a yarmulke, many of them in public. Beshita. The Syrians don't wear a yarmulke in public. You're going to say they don't have Yiras Hashem? That's their tradition. Now you're talking, so as far as if that's their tradition, it's not a question. That's their tradition. You want to understand it? We have to go back. Wait.
I'm talking about people.
Right. Okay, I'm getting there. Isser, I know. Isser, I'm getting there. Let me finish. Okay, I got it. So those that are not that way, the ones you're talking about, if you ask most Yerushalayim people, anyone, they'll tell you it is a cop-out. It is a sellout. Okay? And someone who's honest will admit it. Someone who's not honest will fake it. Will argue. Right? But the Yerushalayim, the rudimentary level of Yerushalayim, Kibbutz of Adam means you have to wear a yarmulke. Someone who doesn't wear his yarmulke outside, although he was raised that way and he's frum, I'm not sure if he would not qualify for what the Alter Rebbe says here, the basic level of Yiras Hashem, because he does fear Hashem, he just feels he needs the parnasa, he needs the shidduch. I mean, this issue with the shidduch with beards was by the Rebbe, the 50s and 60s, and by others too. But you can look in the Igros Kodesh. This was a common issue. And the Rebbe encouraged them and brought the Zohar and said, it's impossible that you won't find the shidduch because you take your beard off, and on and on. But there were just in my research just yesterday, someone told me this Rav who came from Lithuania, he came here, he took his beard off. And there were hundreds of them. So a chassid's going to say, yes, that's a downgrade. At that time, a lot of the Rabbanim and a lot of the people felt that the culture is so anti frum and beard and all that it would only lead to what they thought it's a chilul Hashem. That was the argument they used. It's a chilul Hashem. So I had a Rebbe, was born in 1916 here in Brooklyn, and he went to Poland to learn in the Lubavitch Yeshiva. 2 weeks later, in 1939, the war broke out. He came back, miraculously, him and his friends, they came back, and they already started to grow a beard. When they were at Torah Vadas in the 30s, they didn't have a beard. Almost no one had a beard. He comes back, he becomes more Chabad, more Lubavitch, he learns Chasidus, he starts growing his beard, and he told us, I'm telling you what he told us, I told you this once, he used to walk in the streets here in Brooklyn, whatever, Brownsville, and they used to honk, not the Goyim. The Yidden used to honk like you're a tzig. Hey, goat, get out of the way.
There's a story about Sadler Rebbe that a woman came to him on Shabbos, he was wearing a shramel, and she accosted him and said, you should be ashamed to walk in the streets like that. And he said, just wait, there'll be a day when people will be ashamed to walk without one.
Right, okay, Baruch Hashem, but so therefore, we have to be very careful, Isser, from, casting the spell of, oh, you're such a hypocrite, you're such a faker, where's your Yiddishkeit? If you're a real Yid, what are you taking off your yarmulke in the workplace? And finally, a lot of the people, I'm not saying all, but a lot of the people who do that, who are not Sfarad, not Yekes and all that, a lot of them don't even know better. There are a lot of people who don't know better. They weren't raised this way, okay? So it's, but indeed, if someone doesn't have, so what I'm answering you is, I'm not convinced that all those that you refer to is a violation of this. They don't even have this basic amount of Yiras Hashem. I'm not convinced. But if they don't, they don't. And they need to work on it. What I rather take out of this section of Tanya is, what about myself? I have the beard. I learned in yeshiva. I went to Farbrengens. And do I have the level of Yiras Hashem that I should? That's what I walk away with. But I understand. I understand your point. And that's why it's a question for Rabbonim and Mashpiyim and and you see there are different people who get different pieces of advice. What about, let's say, your wife? Okay? A wife doesn't want her husband to grow a beard. A wife doesn't want the husband to wear a yarmulke. What do you do? What do you do? Do you make a shalom bias issue? Yeah, I know. Maybe somebody. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to implicate anyone here. I'm just talking about it out loud. I'm saying these issues have to be looked at. It's not just one blanket thing that I'm a chassid and I'm a Yirah Shamayim and I go to shiurim and all of that, and I should be wearing a beard. I should be having my tzitzis sticking out. On and on. it's very nice, but you need to also think about a spouse, and ultimately, and I told you this years ago, I know someone who at the time wasn't frum, and he decided to grow his beard to his pupik. It looked like a chassid of the Alter Rebbe. Probably has a beard as long as Moshe Braun. Right? A beautiful, a beautiful long beard. Right? Moshe's beard is long as it is, and it's curled up, right? It's rolled up, right? And here he is. He's not fully frum, and I know, and his wife was so ignorant, knew nothing about Judaism. And I was learning with him, and I was saying to myself, this is going to cause such a shalom bias issue. And I asked him one day, how does your wife relate to your beard? I mean, I would kick you out of the house. And from talking to him and learning with him, I understood. It's because she respected him. And if you respect the person, and this is something that the person feels very strongly about and does it with a sensitivity and not an aggressiveness, and lets the beard grow and looks the way they look, but there's a respect, it went over without a problem. You imagine a Jewish American chap, as they say, excuse the derogatory term, all the liberals should forgive me and not throw stones at me, okay? Is married to a guy who decides to grow his beard to his pupik, and she doesn't throw him out of the house. On the contrary, she respects him. She goes to all restaurants in Manhattan and in LA, and all shows with a guy who has such a beard. Before beards were in, before it was, North Williamsburg yuppies wearing beards, okay? What's the pshat? What's the respect? And the kudah is the respect. And I think that's what we should put our energy on. Not on the other thing. The respect between each other. And when you respect each other, everything will go, because you know that this person, my husband, my wife, my friend, my rabbi, if they're doing it, they mean it. And if people melt for the truth. When you see the truth and you hear and feel truth, you melt away. Of course, you're always going to have chutzpah, disrespectful, vulgar people who'll say, go shower and, you're so unclean, and go trim yourself and all that. That's the world we live in. But those are the exception. I'm not talking about those vulgar people who are just chutzpah. It's a different. The average person, religious or not religious, will come to appreciate it. I heard Manis Friedman years ago say, when a Jew starts, and this maybe is along the lines of Israel, what you're saying, when a Jew starts playing and saying, you're right. Maybe I should come here. I should dress a certain way, do something to make the goyim or the crowd accept me more. They accept you less. When you stand up with and look at Avram Twersky of blessed memory. Really, I look at him as an example. What a Kiddush Hashem! A full beard with a black his frock. Okay, maybe it wasn't always black, it was gray, but he wore a long kaftan every day because he was a Chernobyl chassid from the son of Hasidic Rebbe and grandfather Rebbe, right? And look at the respect he commanded, not just because he was a top-notch psychiatrist and the world's, science thinker and all that. Those are all because he was a respectful person. And that's the Nakuda. So, Chevra, I think we'll stop now. This is an important discussion that we had now. And, so is there, I can't give you a blanket answer to your dilemma. It's not that way. It's a very customized and individualized. At a Chasidische Farbringen, when you had a few lechayims, you're sitting together, you put your hand around your friend and you say, hey. Okay, but that's in private with lots of love and lots of togetherness. But, Yes, Hillel.
I just want to share a quick beard story from my family.
Okay.
Along these lines, that my grandfather, for whom I was named, and his brother, they did hashgacha work in Canada, and they were once on a train. Now there used to, I don't know if there still is, but there was a brand of cough drops in America called Smith Brothers. That
Yeah.
had pictures of men with long beards.
Yeah.
So one time they got on a train and somebody said out loud, "Look, there go the Smith brothers." So my grandfather and his brother, they didn't really know what they were talking about. So they said to them strongly, they said, "If we're the Smith brothers, you're the anti-Smith brothers."
Yashikoyach for the story. You know? Yeah, that's the way it is. Like, you know, Hasidim. Oh, the Amish are okay, but the Hasidim, no. They're fanatics, but the Amish are okay. Sei gesund, everyone. Love you all. See you all tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.